So you're in LA, you're working in the mailroom for New Line, and apparently just miserable, so you end up quitting.
New Line was actually, a very good place for me because I talked my way into being the head mailroom guy, actually. But when I was there, I did a stand-up show to raise money, and Mike DeLuca, who was the vice president of New Line at the time, who's now, president of Sony or a big producer or whatever, he gave me money out of his own pocket to do this short film that I did. So it was good there. When I quit was kind of after a very late night poker game. And what happened was this woman, who I remember her name, maybe I can't say it, but she was like some type of executive there. She came out, I was pushing my mailroom cart, and she came out, smashed into me and knocked coffee on me and said, "What the hell are you doing?" or something like that. And I said, "F you." And everybody was like, "Whoa." And the person who hired me to be the head mailroom guy, she really liked me. She called me in. She said, "Obviously you have to leave," and whatever, And I was in that elevator just going, I am totally screwed. My parents were giving me, I don't know, they were giving me like $500 a month to help me, but it was like, it was time, the clock was ticking.
Right.
And I went out then and made this short film, and I got the people who still liked me from New Line to come, and Mike gave me it, and I did that film. And I used that to get into AFI. Which is the American Film Institute.
So you end up going on to have a decent amount of success. As mentioned, you have 2 films released in the theaters before you're 30 years old. You're paid, I think, $1 million to write a script, yet all of a sudden, you can't even get $50,000 from somebody to write a script. Explain what happened.
Well, I mean, it's a funny business, I got hired after I got out of AFI. I made another short film, and a guy called me up and asked me to do this movie called Phat Beach. And I was 22 years old, and it was PHAT, which was really, honestly, if you look at the timing of it, it was not really a word in the language at that point. It was coming, from the inner city out to white suburbia, but it really wasn't there. And we shot this movie in about 8 days for about $100,000. And the guy ran out of money who was producing it. And about 8 months later, a friend of mine saw some of the footage and said, "I can sell this." And he went out and sold it, and they called me back. They said, "We're going to shoot another 6 days. We're going to finish this movie and release it." I never really thought anyone was going to, where would they release it, But this movie's been playing for 15 years now. It's still on Showtime, and Chris Rock used to make fun of it in his stand-up act. But I did it in about 12 days with about a budget of $100,000, and Live Entertainment released it on 400 screens, which I thought was insane. And
that'd be a great feeling.
I didn't even want it released.
Oh,
I didn't
want
anyone to see it. I mean, they called me, and told me they were going to release it. I thought it was an April Fool's joke at first. And then they called me and told me we're doing a giant premiere. So that got me an agent. And 2 years later, I got another opportunity to do an independent film, which was called Kissing a Fool. And again, we did that for $1.6 million and sold it to Universal. So it was, again, an independent movie that we completely did on our own and handed it over, and they released it. And they released it on 2,200 screens. Like, it was this enormous movie, and it wasn't. And when it didn't make money, I could not get a job. I mean, but before that movie came out, everyone who saw it was like, "Okay, we want to hire Doug for this." So I was getting these jobs and this and that, and then the movie comes out and makes no money, and I am dead, and I'm literally thinking about taking the LSATs again. I'm got an LSAT book, and I'm thinking maybe I'll go back to law school. And I had already bought myself a house at this point, and I had already made money in this business. But that's how.
Were you really going to go back to law school, though? I mean, could you really see yourself doing that?
I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I had no idea what I was going to do. You have to make money, obviously, and I had made a pretty good amount of money for the first, whatever it was, 8-10 years of my career. But this moment was like, okay, you're dead. I mean, there was no business. There was no jobs. What I did was I had Bonnie Hunt in my show, in my movie, and I called her. She was doing a TV show, and she was nice enough to hire me to the lowest level of the low of, like, writers, when I'd already sold 2 movies and 5-6 screenplays. But I did that for about 10 weeks, and then Entourage happened. So
what did going through all of that, those struggles, teach you about money and the value of working hard?
Well, I've always been, my parents instilled in me, kind of hard work and prepare for a rainy day. I'm always panicked that I'm going broke. It doesn't matter how much money I have, and that's why I say even when I had $600, I thought I was going broke, and whatever I have now, I'm always convinced that I'll be running out of money soon. So I try to live like every job is my last job. I always have, and when I do a job, I work it as hard as I can, and I put as much into it as I can.